Hi, it's Jen from Shabby Fabrics. Today I'm going to show you how to sew this cute little love bug. It's an adorable little pillow that we can tuck little love notes in and give to maybe some kids that would really love to have something very near and dear made just for them. This is something that Moda has offered to us to share with you in conjunction with a nonprofit called Creativity Shell. I love their mission. I want to tell you a little bit more about that, and then we're going to jump right into the tutorial. Here's the fun part. Free download if you want that, or if you want to get the printed pattern, it's kind of more of a brochure. We're offering that for just $2, and we will be donating that money back to Creativity Shell. We really believe in their mission. We're excited to be a part of that. And we're grateful to be able to offer that as a download and get more love bugs made. Okay, what is this all about? Well, we all know that kids, life is more difficult for our kids maybe than it's ever been, even after COVID, especially, and the world is just so complex. And so we know mental health care is so important. And this is really what Creativity Shell is all about, is making these very positive and uplifting, cute little pillows that we can tuck notes of encouragement, notes of love, that a child might just need that little note to be able to read and feel good about themselves, that someone believes in them. So I'm going to share with you just a little bit of their mission. The Creativity Shell is a nonprofit organization that teaches classes such as sewing and textiles, arts, cooking, building, and other creative trades to students in their private studios, libraries, schools, ABA therapy centers, the juvenile justice system, as well as shelters that rescue children from homelessness and human trafficking. All of their classes are designed to teach children essential life and practical skills. And they certainly go on to talk more about their mission. And just know that you have the opportunity to make a love bug, of course, for maybe someone that you know that might appreciate that. But there's also an opportunity to be able to donate. We're going to have that in the, we're going to definitely put those names right here across the video. The Shalantia, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Daniel is really the brain behind this, and Brittany Grono is accompanying her in this mission to, again, wrap some love around these kids. And I love that. We'll put both of their emails in there. If you know you want to make some love bugs and be able to donate those, they'll be able to help you know where you can do that if there's not a place in your local community. All right. And as I mentioned, there is a free download if you want to have that, or if you would love to just have us mail something to you, $2. And we're going to donate all the money right back to Creativity Shell so they can keep moving forward with their mission. So let's dive into our pattern. We think this is pretty darn cute in a variety of different fabrics. Tula Pink is on deck with us today. We love Tula just overall as a designer, so incredible artistically. We love the vibrancy of her colors, and that is what our love bug has been sewn in, and I'm going to do it again today. All right, our first step inside our pattern says use the circle template. So we have kind of two halves of our template. This is what we're going to be making. I did this out of freezer paper. And how I made my template, because I knew I was going to be making plenty of love bugs, is I didn't want to cut my pattern apart, especially if you're paying for your pattern. You might want to go ahead and use some freezer paper. The Cut-Rite heavy duty freezer paper is my favorite because I love the thickness of it and how sturdy it is. So what I did with my pattern is I just brought that right over top of my light box so that I could see through that clearly. And I lined up one sheet of that, simply traced my arc. And what I realized is once I had that traced, if I just put the other paper with the shiny sides together and cut that out, they were cut out symmetrically, so they were identical. And then I just taped those two sides together. So that's what you have here. Once that's done, let me move that out of the way. We're going to need some space together. The love bugs are big, and I love that about them. I love that it's something that a child can take and have, and it is made just for them. Once you have that put together and you have your semicircle, we will put that aside for the moment. This is another fun project that uses pre-cuts. This particular project calls for 5 fat quarters. We have 1 for the body. These are considered wings. This is going to be our head, and this is going to be our belly. So when they talk about, I've jumped ahead. Let me just follow the pattern. Step 1 is take your body fat quarter. And for this one, I'm going to use a striped fabric just for the fun of it. And we'll lay this out. And they want us to fold in half hot dog style. This has brought a smile to my face each time I've read this pattern. And I've not heard that term before. But what they do mean is this direction. And we're just going to fold that so you have this longer distance here. This is a fat quarter. And we'll just crease it at the top and the bottom. We can finger crease that, or if you want to put a little bit of a stronger press in there so we don't lose sight of that. In fact, I will do that for you so you can definitely see it. I'll put our love bug over here, just like that. And open this up. You want the selvage toward your belly area and that a nice straight edge at the top, because everything will now be laid out based on that. Now, I know you're seeing a lot of other things on the table. I'll speak to them as we're using them, and that way I don't jump ahead. So we'll take our body fat quarter and fold it in half hot dog style to find the center. Finger press, you saw me put a little bit of a stronger crease in the beginning and the end. And we're going to lay that right side up with the selvage facing us. We've done that. We're going to mark the bottom selvage with a pencil or fabric pen 4 inches from both sides of the center. So if we grab this tool here, I'm just going to put that on my 4 on my creative grid ruler. And let's mark that right here. And again here. This is an important place because this is where our wings are going to line up. So once we have that, and by the way, those will be trimmed off in final assembly. So even if you wanted to use just a pen, by all means, go ahead and do that. We'll fold both of our wing fat quarters in half, again, hot dog style. So I have wing 1 here. And where we are in this pattern is right here. I want to point something out to you. It says we're going to fold both of our wings. This is wing 1, and this is my fold, and this is my raw edge. And I'm going to flip that over so that I have all of my selvages kind of down toward me. I think I'm more comfortable with that. And this is my other wing. I thought that kind of texture looked kind of very bug-like. I like that. Okay, so let's go back to this. We're going to fold the 2 wings hot dog style, and we'll lay the left wing on top of the body fat quarter with the fold facing toward the middle. So let me get this one out of the way. Line up the left wing fold just past the center mark. So this is our center mark. Maybe I'll mark that so you can see that for sure on the overhead camera. Might pull that down just a touch. So just past that, not to it, but just a little bit past it. And then the bottom will line up with this line that we marked down here. So we're just past it and lining up here. You will repeat the same step with the other wing fabric, again with the fold here in the open edges. And if you have an uneven fabric, that's okay, or you can trim that, because a lot of that's going to be trimmed away, as we know. So we're also kind of over center just a little bit. Whatever you do on the one, you want to make the same. And lining up again at our bottom line. And I can kind of see this looks very symmetrical. So that's our first step. So let me just jump right back into the, so we repeated that, and that's what that looks like right now. And I know that looks weird, But that's the sight picture, right? We have this there, this one's slightly overlapping, and we're down here. So this is our step right now. For the head, fold the one head back quarter in half, hot dog style again, just like in the first, like we've already done, and lay that so that the fold is down here. Now this is going to be my head piece, and this is going to be my raw edge. Now this is something that I wanted to mention to you. This is where we're going to have our eyes, okay? So you can either put the eyes on afterward, but if you want to have them stitched down, this is the step that you would do that. So let me go ahead and get that out. I just grabbed some Heat and Bond Light because I wanted to put the eyes on now versus try to do them later. Trying to put the eyes on later means I either try to have to stitch them on by hand, but I can't sew them on by machine because my pillow is together. That's why I feel like putting the eyes on now would be really helpful. They do have inside their pattern a template for the bug eyes that you could absolutely go ahead and trace on here if you would like, or I just grabbed a piece of the Heat and Bond Light. That's what this is here. A permanent pen. So just trace around, just like that, roughly cut around, put that on the back of your black fabric, and then we just cut out. So once you have that, we'll just peel the backing off. I have black loaded into my machine with just a short little zigzag stitch. Now, if we look at our pillow to try to figure out where do we position these eyes, looking at our pillow and looking at this is basically you're looking at this pillow just straight down. This how it's going to happen. So if we measure from the middle of the eye back to our fold, that's about 3.5 inches, and there's about 1.25 inch gap. So we can measure down 3.5 inches, kind of just center that. And that's actually to the middle of the eye. Let's see where the top of the eye is. About 2 3/4. So if we position those about like that, that's pretty cute. All right, I'm going to take that fabric. Let's iron that down, and I'm going to do that satin stitch. I want to complete our pillow because we will be donating this pillow. So I'm just going to go get that satin stitch down. Now that our eyes are stitched down, we will lay our piece again with the opening up, and you want to stack that on top of this. And I know it's a little bit blind, so we will just take kind of a peek. We know it's up to near the top. I'll move it up just a little bit more. There. And if it's not stacked exactly on top, it's all going to still work out just fine. If it's very close, that will work. Okay, so now we have 4 of our fabrics done, and we are at, that's what this is right now. And of course, we have our eyes attached because we want to stitch those down now. Again, that's an option to you. I wanted to avoid buttons. I know they recommend that as a possibility just because any little ones that might pull those buttons off could choke on them. And so I'd like to encourage you to not put buttons on, but maybe fabric and stitch it down so that nobody can choke on any of those things. All right, now we will be working with our belly, or what they're calling the backing fabric. And this is the first time that we will actually be placing that face down. Everything else, of course, is face up. And we will once again be trying to stack that right on top and even. We know that if we are lined up here and that is lined up underneath, that's where we need to be. So we'll smooth that out. And this is where we are right here. Now we will take our template and we'll have a temporary marking pen, and I have a friction pen here. So let's talk about what they're saying here. Lay the template on top of all the pieces so it's centered on the backing fabric. So they want to make sure you're not biased one way or the other. So I feel like we're about left to right, correct? The center of the circle should be just below the fold of the head fat quarter in the stack. So that's what the head is right here. So I need to move this up. It should be just below that. The reason being is we're going to draw our semicircle, and then we're going to flip this down and do that again. With that in mind, when you trace this out, you could do actually 4 quadrants and do a full circle, because we will ultimately be cutting out a full circle. We just happen to do the semicircle, which is what was shown, of course, in the pattern. So left to right, let's balance that out, and we're just below our head piece by, I don't know, about 1/2 inch. I think that's going to work fine. I'm just going to take a quick peek. I feel like I'm going right up the middle. So let's make sure the center of the circle should be just below the fold of the head, that quarter in the stack. Make sure you have plenty of fabric at the bottom to get the second half of the circle, and then trace the top using a pencil. So that's what they're saying, is once you flip this down, make sure that you haven't run out of fabric. And we're good. So let's just get that traced. Like I'm going right up the middle. And we only need to trace on the outside. Don't need to trace across the center, because we're just trying to create a circle. And we'll just flip that down and continue. And if you drew anything, you know, with the friction pen, you can just iron it away and start again. So we have our circle drawn, and we'll put our template aside for another love bug after we get this one done. So we've done that. We flipped it down. Let me just move that down. Being careful not to move your fabrics. Turn the template down. We did that. We traced around it. Now step 10, pin all letters, all capitals and exclamation point. Before you cut, pin around the inside of your fabric sack so that nothing shifts. And there's a lot of fabric going on. For this reason, I'm definitely grabbing for my flower head pins, because they're sturdier. They can go through more layers. And I'm going to pin all around, staying away from where I'm going to be sewing. I want to keep the pins in the whole time. That's why I recommend you don't cross your sewing line, but instead you're pinning here or out here so that they can stay in place the whole time. So I'll go ahead and get that pinned. Okay, you may have noticed I flipped a couple pins. Here's something I learned about the Clover flower head pins. They are some of the sharpest pins I have ever used. And when I get poked, I usually see some red on my hand. I find if I put the pin down, like I know I'm going to start sewing on this side of it. It seems like if I can keep traveling with the pin down this way versus having the poke up, the pin up, I'm less likely to poke myself. So that's just something I kind of learned along the way. That's why I flipped that pin. Now they want us to cut through the fabrics a 1/2 inch outside of the drawn line. So you can just wing that a 1/2 inch, or if that bothers you, you can certainly put your ruler out there and be able to mark some points. If you want to cut that with a rotary cutter, you can. I'm going to be cutting that with some different scissors, and I will get that cut out and we can move on to our next step. Okay, so we have this here. Now all of this extra fabric, when I made my first love bug, I thought, what am I going to do with all this extra fabric? And knowing that the love bug is about love and positive encouragement, I knew that it was a perfect opportunity to make more of those just pocket prayer quilts. I did this video, oh my gosh, a long time now, maybe a year ago now, where it's a great thing to make with your scrap fabric. They make the cutest little mini quilts. And of course, we have our printed pocket prayer. It's got our gold pins and our gold crosses, especially if you've got, someone that wants to hear the good news of Jesus. And, there's the beautiful cross inside. This would make all kinds of pocket prayers, and those could slip inside there. And I love that. So I just want to throw that out there as a possible idea of what you could do with this beautiful leftover fabric. And it would coordinate so nicely with your love bug. So that's what I know is what I intend to do with my leftovers from making my love bugs. So once we're here, let's find our top of our love bug here. Might be easier to actually see it from peeking over here. We definitely need to know where our face is, our eyes, so that we can now put our rickrack in. They mentioned Twilla rickrack. We just found some jumbo rickrack, and we cut lengths that were about 6 inches, and we tried to line them up so that they would just stack over top of each other, just like that. And I just used a Wonder Clip to kind of hold them. I pre-cut those out. Even if you want to cut your strips just a little bit longer, kind of find where they kind of stack on top of each other, just like that. And then 1, 2, 3, you kind of go in and then trim them down to be the size that you need. So that's how we did our little legs on that. So, but we first need to find, gather your rickrack. We've done that, fold in half. We need to find where our head is. So let's just find that location. So that is right there. We know that point. Turn this over. So we know this is the top. This is coming in right here, and our eyes are right in here. If you need to just pull this back to look, by all means, go ahead and do that. And we're like, yep, that's where our eyes are. So that's what we were expecting to see. You can see where they have the legs positioned is kind of back past this fold. So we'll pull that back. And we'll do this one over here as well. So we just insert the legs in wherever you want them to occur. We'll lay that one back on top, and I'm just going to Wonder Clip that again. It's really thick for even a flower head pin. So, and then back here, and if we want to be opposite, we'll just undo this whole section. Let's actually look at that whole thing together so you can see what I'm doing. That's probably a little bit easier for you to see that. So put the legs in here. And that's about the same distance. There we go. Let's clip those back up. One of the things they mentioned, well, of course, we're going to sew around this, but we have to leave an opening, of course, to turn it. The place that they recommend that we leave open because it has the least amount of bulk and kind of fabric layering is right here at the bottom. So this is where we will mark and just remind ourselves that we want to leave that. I'm going to go past that wing. So I'm past that place, and we'll begin and end here. Of course, we'll backstitch there and then come around and backstitch here, and then we'll turn our project through. And I will go ahead and sew that with you now on camera. And before we even turn, they do recommend that we trim away some of the bulk. So we'll do that as well. Okay, just clean up just a touch here. I use the top stitch needles for sewing, and that's super nonstick, by the way. Forgot to mention that if you're going to be doing the fusible for the eye, so I really like the super nonstick. Let me just clean up that. I love that. And just quickly clean up my needles and clean up my workspace. As I mentioned, they do say that we may want to trim around, clip edges of your seam allowance to reduce the bulk. So we can do that with our scissors. We could do that with a rotary cutter. That is quite thick, I think, especially over that rick-rack. So I'm just going to trim a little bit here. Where your opening is going to be turned under, I left a 1/4 inch seam allowance. You could leave more here if you want to have more to turn, like I could pivot out right there. That's where our seam allowance is. It's easier sometimes to have a little bit more to turn than less. So that's just something I've kind of learned along the way. We don't want our pillow coming opening. Later on, we hope these pillows get lots of use, lots of love, and we don't want our pillow coming apart later. That's why I like having a bigger seam allowance anytime I'm going to be having an opening. So you heat that up. We'll turn our pillow through. So cute in Tula fabrics. Who doesn't love Tula fabrics? They're bright and fun, and they make you smile. And I like that very much, especially for kids. So we can turn that through. We also have our point turner that has this nice arc around it. Sometimes, even though I can reach in there with my hand, I feel like the point turner just somehow flattens that seam. Just makes it just so smooth in there. Now, what I'd like to suggest is that we go ahead now and just kind of deal with this opening. And remember, we kind of left that visual 1/2 inch, and you're just going to iron that down. This is not an essential step. You could certainly just whip stitch that closed, which would be your final step after it's stuffed. But I feel like it makes it a little bit easier, and it's definitely easier to do it now before the pillow is full of stuffing. This is so cute. Really cute. Oh my gosh, so adorable. So your next step, let me just grab some polyfill here. It is surprising how much polyfill these will take. We just grab some handful and just start stuffing, of course, stuffing toward the front, getting our pillow as full as you want it to be. Once that's full, this is like Santa's beard here. I'm just going to shove a little bit more in there. How we finished our pillow, and I'll just show it to you. I used the Richard Hemming size 4. I love them for hand embroidery. I love them for any time I'm whip stitching something closed. Very affordable. You get plenty of needles. They'll last you a long, long time. And then I just got a coordinating thread. You just grab that out. That may be new to you. But I'll show you what we did. Once we have that stuffed to the level we want it to be stuffed to, I just started whip stitching, basically. Just bring those ends close. You can start off with, I'll try to move my head, coming in on the inside to hide the knot. And then I just whip stitch that. It's just kind of overcast over. And then you just keep traveling down. All the way down, and then tie off at the end. And that's what that looks like. So how fun to make a love bug. So thank you for giving me a part of your day. This is such a special project that we can bless these kids with something special that's going to put a smile on their face and tuck some notes of encouragement inside there that maybe set them in the right direction today, tomorrow, and maybe every day. So please share this video with someone else that you know would love to make a love bug. And again, if you don't have a local place to maybe donate those, please make contact with these two women that are just have got this whole nonprofit rolling toward positivity for kids. I know they would love to hear from you, and I'll see you soon on another Shabby video.